Hello and welcome back to KSP POV, where we play Kerbal Space Program in first person. In today's episode, we're going to kind of continue what we did in the last episode. We're going to use the same satellite. However, this time we're going to send it to the Mun. The last satellite that we sent was one that is going to satisfy some ScanSAT contracts. So firstly, we're going to go into mission control and see what we can grab to enhance this mission itself to make the most amount of money for something that we're going to want to do anyways. By scanning the moon, we're going to be able to launch more intelligent missions and more accurate landings in the future. Because we have Strategia, we're going to need to complete some probe landings before we can do anything else. However, we are going to be getting into some crewed capsules pretty soon. So I'm excited to get in there, get out of the probe control room, and kind of explore other IVA options that we have here. So as you see here, we are picking up a multispectral scan. We have that science material. We also have the contracts to do the same thing over at Minmus, but we're gonna hold off on that because we're not in a Minmus program currently. So I have the same contracts as I did for the Kerbal, the multispectral and the low altimetry, and that'll be able to give us a good map as well as some information about biomes and terrain height and everything. We still have this enter stable orbit contract because we still haven't successfully retrieved a probe from orbit. So let's go ahead and bring up the craft that we used in the last one, the ScanSAT 1. And we're going to change these boosters over so that way it's not a polar orbit that we're looking for this time. We're going to go equatorial so we can achieve the best rendezvous with the Mun as possible. We're going to add just a little extra fuel to the vacuum stage, the Terrier engine. So just checking my staging, checking my Delta V. Everything should be fine. So let's go ahead and launch this. It's just after sunset, about to be nighttime at the KSC. People working overtime. That's okay. Science knows no hours of operation. So we get ready to set up the probe control room the way that we like it. Cameras on the right, orbit information on the left. And get all our screens together. We do this pretty much the same as always. Pretty soon we're going to actually have a more efficient way of creating everything. Basically just an order of operations of the particular switches that we hit that maximizes our control. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and launch. No need for a countdown. As you can see that we're going vertical. We're stable and pitching over slightly because we have quite a lot of control with this craft. And we're going to skip ahead and you can see us coming into orbit. There's not really much that we did differently in the launch, so we're going to go ahead and skip that to focus on other things to utilize the time the best. We extend our solar panels, and then we're going to go ahead and get ourselves situated and positioned for a rendezvous with the Mun. We might be, we're probably going to be skipping the launch sequence, at least until we start using different IVA capsules, because we've seen it quite enough, and unless there's something different or something special happens during that liftoff, we're just going to focus more on the mission to give ourselves a little more time. But anyways, here we are at the new part, and we are going to make a maneuver at our periapsis, because not only is that the fastest part of our orbit, but it seems to line up pretty nicely with our translunar injection. So we're just going to use the precise maneuver mod to adjust it and try to get as close to the altitude that we want. And we're going to leave the rest of this footage unedited as we go along. And you're just going to kind of see the whole process as we bring this thing into a polar orbit of the Mun. So I'm going to go ahead and align myself with a maneuver node using the DPAI. I believe I remember that series of letters correctly. But basically this little nav ball, we don't have access to for our probe to lock to maneuver, so we're going to have to use this to kind of align ourselves. And it is a low-tech analog, so we don't have indicators on the nav ball itself. And we're just going to wait until the maneuver time is counted down until halfway through. Because this tells us the time to the node, but not the time to burn to. We're going to have to do that manually. We're going to time warp ahead a little bit, speed this up. You got to be careful with time warping in the probe control room. It's very easy to overshoot your target, so you have to be very vigilant. It's not too heavy of a burn, so we didn't have to wait for too long past the node. There's not really much I have a need to say here. We're just going to kind of enjoy the soft ambient music as we come out. Doing these kind of maneuvers is very, very peaceful to me. I enjoy the process of it, of aligning yourself, getting to the right periapsis, and then just holding steady until the time counts down, and killing the engine as soon as possible. I absolutely love how much control you have in an IVA mode like this. You wouldn't think that you could do as many things as you can just based off of the numbers and gauges alone. But I mean, this is how they used to do it. Even a lower tech than this. It's wonderful. I haven't really talked about it, but we do have plans to upgrade our technology as time goes on. Once we reach further destinations, eventually hit certain milestones, then we are going to change over to a different probe control room. We're going to change over to a different Mach 1 cockpit for our planes and all sorts of different things. We're going to upgrade our IVAs to fit where our space agency is at the time. So I'm excited for that, because there are variations in the IVAs that we can use. There we are. Could be a little bit better. We still have 16.1 delta V left on our maneuver, but good enough. We're going to have to make a mid-course correction anyways, because we want to come in at a polar orbit. Polar inclination, excuse me. So we're just going to kind of play around with the maneuver node maker until we get something that we like, and we want to have it below 250 kilometers, because that is the height limit for both science experiments, ScanSAT experiments. And we're going to turn our thrust way down, because this engine's fairly powerful, and so it was very short burn time, and I want to have some accuracy here, so I would rather burn for 13 seconds and know that I'm going to hit the 247 kilometer that I was aiming for, as opposed to only burning for 1 second and having to potentially flip around to adjust my trajectory. When it comes to space travel, slow and steady does win the race. That's why we have things like nuclear engines and ion engines. There we go. So we align ourselves in one axis, and then we're going to change our pitch to align the other. And there we are. Nice and easy. Since we got that lined up, we're going to go ahead and time warp to the maneuver. We can see that we were on the dark side of Kerbal, and now that we're heading out, we're twisting around our craft to try to seek out the sun, but alas, we can't find it. Might just be on the other side of Kerbal. Just time warp and get a little further out, and we'll probably have some better luck. There it is, and there we go. It's a little hard, we're just eyeballing it, but it does seem like our solar panel is facing the right direction, so we should be getting some electricity here. And as we can see, our output is greater than 0, so that means that yes, we are taking in sunlight. So we come in here real fast just to check our burn time, as well as to get a very safe way to warp a little bit closer. I feel that using the map screen is justifiable in this case, because the time warp is not a physical action that the Kerbals are doing. It's merely just a passage of time for the player themselves. Things are still going on at Kerbal, and people are still living their life, and they know what day to come back and to sit back down at their workstations to control their craft. So, as well as they have teams of people working on the maps and the trajectories and stuff. We're just the flight director, but that doesn't mean that we have to do everything. Alright, so we're time warping close enough, and we don't have a very long burn, so we can go very close to the maneuver node. We're still aligned with the target, so that's great. And we full throttle, but of course we have very low thrust rate, so it just takes very little power. And stop. That makes us basically perfect. So now we're going to plot in our capture burn to circularize and try to get as close to a completely even 249 kilometer. So currently I'm once again spinning around to find the sun, because we don't need to align with our maneuver until much closer to it, and this craft is maneuverable enough that when that time comes, we can turn it around pretty confidently that we'll be able to focus the right way. Oh, there's Kerbal. And there's the sun. So I keep the camera facing that way because we have 2 extra solar panels, so that means that even though the solar panel that we're looking at isn't getting full strength, the other 2 are facing the sun, so we can be certain about that. I've been utilizing cameras to orient myself in space a lot more, and it's been a lot helpful to just be able to point your camera at the sun and know pretty confidently that your solar panels are aligned correctly. So highly recommend doing that. And we freeze up a little bit as we enter the sphere of influence of the Mun. But it doesn't take long, and as the screen changes, it lets us know that we are high in space. So we went ahead and did the science experiments that we had on board, and we're going to go ahead and transmit those. Still have some positive charge. That's good. We still have some positive charge and output coming from our solar panels. Pretty confident that we're going to be able to do the science in low space as well, and still have plenty of battery to complete all of our maneuvers and start scanning. We time warp closer, we get to see the moon up on the screen. And we're going to time warp again. It's very exciting getting to see the Mun approach via these cameras. We could do this without cameras. We can do this just using that visual on the left and just the numbers and stuff, but there's something just so great about seeing it for yourself. When you do an IVA only mode, you get used to not seeing a lot of things that you would see in a normal playthrough. Alright, so the time comes down to the node. We go ahead and fire. And we rapidly bring our apoapsis down until it circularizes and we are captured. And then we drop it down to be our ideal height. And then once the delta V required runs down at 0.8, we managed to hit it almost perfectly. 249 by 245. Beautiful. So we started our scan using our action groups, and as we time warp forward, we can see that not only did it complete one of our contracts, but it is in the correct position to start scanning. And so we can get ourselves a map here of the Mun fairly quickly. There we go. But anyways, that's where I'm going to leave today's episode. In the future episodes, we're going to work on getting our Kerbals into space, so I hope you are looking forward to that. If you enjoyed this episode, if you're looking forward for more, please consider giving me a like, drop me a comment, let me know your thoughts, and I will see y'all in the next one. Take care.